everybody, and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm your host, Bob Anderson. We got a great show tonight. I've got a great guest, Rick Aguilar from West St. Paul, and he's very well known in the Hispanic community, the Latino community, and he's well versed on politics and all issues related. So, Rick, thanks for coming on tonight.
Bob,
I'm excited to have you on.
Well, great to be here. Hastings, Minnesota.
Yeah,
Wow.
you just came down here and like nothing. I appreciate
Wonderful.
people willing to come on, and I mean this is a great opportunity to get a message out, and I think you'd be a great guest. So thanks a lot for making the trip.
Thanks, Bob.
Maybe you could tell the viewers just a little bit about yourself, your background, and.
Well, I was born and raised in St. Paul, and our company, Aguilar Productions, for the past 22 years, we've been producing multicultural marketing conferences.
Okay.
So these are conferences that we've helped corporate America, pretty much these last 20 plus years, of reaching the Hispanic, Asian, African, and African market, and here and locally and in the U.S. You know, these groups have a buying power in this country of over $2 trillion. Oh,
wow.
So this isn't about any feel good. This is
right.
business. These are real markets that your company should be talking to, because these are the populations of the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I met you through the Trump train. You know, I was brand new to the Republican Party, so I've been meeting all sorts of new people. And you have a lot of passion, you have a lot of drive, and you're just a great guy all around. And I started to realize, hearing some of the things you were talking about how big of a turnout there was in the Latino community for Donald Trump, where everybody kind of wrote him off thinking he doesn't have a chance. There was like 30% that went for Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, it was really an amazing election if you think about it. First, here in Minnesota, well, our organization, the Hispanic Republican Assembly of Minnesota, we're an affiliate of the party.
Yep.
We've been around 20 years.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And we were originally with Marco Rubio.
Yep. That's why I found that out.
And you know, Marco is just a great guy, great candidate. Very articulate, very smart, knowledgeable guy. And so soon after Trump took him down in the debates, well, then we went with Ted.
Yeah.
Or as Trump would say, Lion Ted. Lion Ted.
He nicknamed them all.
But you know, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz will go down in history as the two most well-known Latino politicians in the history of the United States. Millions of viewers saw them. Those debates were drawing millions of people around, not only here in the country, around the world. Exactly. And what they saw, and the reason we were so proud of that as Hispanic Republicans, they saw two smart, articulate, potential presidents.
Oh yeah,
and,
definitely.
And so our biggest thrill was the fact that Minnesota, in our caucuses, they actually voted for Marco Rubio.
Exactly. He was this one state he took that I think it was the only state.
This is the only state, plus District of Columbia.
Yeah,
he took that.
Well, Marco Rubio, he's a great guy. He's got a great future, and Ted Cruz. But the thing that I was lacking with Rubio was kind of what President Obama had with the Democrats. Great guy and everything, but no real life experience outside of politics. And Marco Rubio, I think, learned a lot from this election, and he will definitely be back. He'll be back.
I'm so glad. Yeah.
Yes. So I mean, that had to have been exciting for you,
well,
especially in the state here.
Well, it was, and I've got to know Marco because of that. But you know, the thing was that eventually it came down to where we're going to support Trump. Now, if you look around it nationally, the Hispanic media in this country, as well as the Democrat Hispanic, they were really after Trump, especially with his early remarks about
he brought on a lot
border.
Of his
own. I think that was that wasn't the smartest move. But despite that, we thought, hey, listen, we're not going to let Hillary and Bill Clinton back in the White House. No way in the world.
No, I appreciate
so we went with Trump. But you know, I caught a break early on because as myself and our organization, Trump went to Mexico to meet with the president of Mexico, which is really, I never thought, I thought maybe he wouldn't come back. I don't know, it was kind of a weird.
Hillary didn't go. Trump went.
Hillary wouldn't go. And but when he came back, Trump had a group of Hispanics who were part of his advisory team. But you know, Hispanics were very, I think it's the first time in presidential history that they wouldn't associate themselves with Trump because of all this negativity
Right.
that was, especially the Hispanic media. I mean, the Hispanic media, Univision and Telemundo, these big
he got into that
broadcasting.
big-
I mean, they were practically telling you if you were Latino and you were supporting Trump, you shouldn't even be allowed in your own community. And a lot of people were pretty intimidated by that. But I always remember Trump saying, you know, Hispanics like me. They're going to vote for me. You know, people never thought they would. But I think one of the surprising things was that I was interviewed by the Minneapolis Tribune. Or they call them the Star Tribune, or the Red Star, as they're known. Okay, I got
That's perfect.
in our
You're not alone in that.
In our circle is the Red Star. But they called me and asked me if I was on the Trump train.
Yeah.
And I said yes.
All right.
And it was a big article in the Sunday paper, and the thing kind of went national because you know the Star Tribune.
Oh yeah.
It's a pretty well-known newspaper.
Definitely.
And so you know we got some notoriety here by being Latino supporting Trump.
Yes.
And as it turned out, despite all the negativity, despite all these Hispanics and the pundits and everybody going against Trump, Trump turned up 30% of the Latino vote. It was a shocker. But I'm going to tell you something that's really amazing about the Latinos, because you know they're not monolithic.
Right.
Latinos don't vote the way, let's say for instance, African Americans vote Democrat, high 90s.
Obama had that.
Okay.
Higher
Well,
than
and for most part, African Americans vote Democrat, but not the Latinos. You know, they don't see the world that way, where they have to follow everybody. So, I think one of the most important things in the campaign, Bob, was winning Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, Trump had to win Florida.
Yes,
And that was the first election that was going to be called. Well, here's what happened, kind of a fluky deal.
Yeah.
Because of the WikiLeaks.
Yes.
Where they found the Democrats were blasting Catholics and evangelicals.
Yeah.
See, remember that?
Yeah.
Well, lo and behold, in Florida has been a big move of Puerto Ricans to that state. Democrats, everybody thought. No, the Puerto Ricans are evangelicals.
Oh,
they voted for Trump, and Trump wins Florida.
Yes.
Yeah, Trump wins Florida. And the Latino vote played a big role. And that kind of swept the whole country because of 30%. So I was quite happy election day. Now we have to see, as the Latino population now is the largest minority in the country.
Right.
And we always will be, because we're young. It's a young community.
Yes.
But you know, Bob, you know, I'm an American. I mean, I'm not a Mexican, okay?
Yeah.
I'm an American who happens to have a Mexican background, and we're conservatives, and we think that because in Minnesota they vote 30% Republican, so we're telling our Republican candidates, you got to go after that Latino vote.
Definitely.
They're voting 30% without us even talking to them. You know, and there's some important issues, Bob. I think you know they are.
Yeah.
The fact is, in Minnesota, we have the worst achievement gap in the country. We have the highest rate of Latinos that aren't graduating from high school. Second highest for African Americans here in the state, and that's because of the Democrats.
Well,
you know,
they've been in control of that.
They've been in control, and they're in control of these. You know, they're all pro public schools. And our Latino kids just started doing it now. Some of that is the fault of the families. You got to, you know, this
there's a
isn't
lot
a one-way street. But those are, you know, Republicans have been school choice advocates for years.
Yes.
And I think besides that,
I am also.
Yeah.
I mean,
but the Hispanic business community, we're one of the fastest growing business groups. You know, and they're against taxes and regulations. I think we got something to work with.
I think so too. And now, when people do get elected, though, they gotta come through.
Yes.
So DACA is a huge issue.
Oh yeah.
I know you've been out to the White House, and it's confusing for the American public that don't really understand.
Yeah.
And the media can, you know how they're gonna, sprue it.
Well,
So what
Bob,
do you feel about
well,
this?
here's the thing, Bob. It's kind of interesting. You know, in a way, my brothers and sisters they would have been put in that DACA category. Here's what I mean. My dad, originally from Mexico, my mom and dad from Mexico, and they were part of a migrant stream that would start working in Texas.
Yep.
They weren't citizens. They would come across the border, they would start in Texas, end up in Minnesota picking the sugar beets.
Yep.
Okay. Well, then they would get paid and go back to Mexico.
Yeah.
Well, a farmer from St. Peter, Minnesota, befriended my dad. Asked him, why didn't he come and work on the farm?
Yeah.
And move, and he gave him a place to live. My dad went and got my mom and 5 kids. Now, here's the deal. Those kids were young.
Yeah.
My mom and dad brought them into this country, and they grew up in St. Peter, Minnesota. They weren't citizens. But that's kind of what happens with the DACA thing. You know, the parents brought these kids here. Now the kids grow up. They didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
So I kind of have I kind of have some empathy for the DACA situation, but so does Trump.
Oh, I know.
I think kind of late in the campaign he was asked about that. There was a lot of people who were agonizing about what he was going to do about the DACA, but he said, "Yeah, I got a place in my heart for these kids.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be doing anything." And lo and behold, he hasn't yet.
No.
But he put it into the hands of the Congress.
Exactly where it should be.
Right there.
President Obama did that. That was
Yeah.
poorly done what
Yeah.
he did, and the way he did it was easily able to be reversed by Trump.
Well.
But it is in Congress's hands. It should have been the first time.
Yeah.
With President Obama. So hopefully, President, I mean,
Well.
you know him. He's working something out, and if he has to work with Democrats, hey, some of these Republicans are being obstructionists also,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we've got to, because they don't like them.
Oh, sure.
It's a personality deal.
This is
really,
probably one of the strangest first years of any president in history with the media and all. But it's kind of amazing because I'm asked a lot about this, and so are our Republican candidates.
Yes.
But there's always this talk about that Trump wants to deport all these Latinos and all this fear mongering that's going around through the media. But let's look back. When Obama first got elected with a big Hispanic vote, he promised the Hispanics immigration reform his first year. You know what they got instead? They got a president. They got a president who will go down in history as the great deporter. He deported more Latinos than any president in history.
I witnessed it firsthand in the building I was working in.
And
All the cleaning crew
and it was
sent.
scary.
And they weren't criminals.
This was in the middle of the night raids. Obama went totally against the Latinos, didn't care what they thought, because he was under pressure. He was under pressure from the unions not to allow these Latinos in. And I think in a lot of ways, the Black Caucus has never been a big favorite of having Latinos in there because they don't want to lose their voting power.
Yeah, and jobs. And the thing was is that he got a second term. He got let off so easy with the media.
Yeah.
It was such a double standard.
Oh.
That's what really upset me because he was deporting more than all the other presidents before him.
Well,
he was cracking down. Bush wasn't cracking down like he was.
Well, Obama.
Then he changed.
Obama's legacy is this: he decimated the Democrat Party. During his 2 terms, there was more losses by the Democrats at any time in history.
Yeah,
you know what's amazing? The other day I'm watching TV and there's Obama campaigning for if I was running as a Democrat, I wouldn't have the guy 100 miles from me. Goodbye.
Exactly.
Go and relax, man.
Well, that's why I hope that with the Trump administration, there is this potential. And you know what? There's got to work something out because they did come out 30%, and they're expecting there's some room in there that we can make something to come to a common sense resolution to this issue.
Well, I think so, and despite the fact immigration. Immigration is probably about number 5 on a list of important issues for Latinos. It really is.
Okay.
It's not number 1.
Yep.
Number 1 is jobs.
Yes.
Number 2 is education. Number 3 is health care. I mean, the same anxieties we have as Americans. This is what they feel. So I'm thinking that if we as a party, our Republican Party, and Trump hopefully be appreciating the 30%.
Yes, exactly.
This isn't about. About reaching out to Latinos isn't about doing the right thing or any of this equity and inclusion crap that's out there. Yeah. No. We want their votes.
Right.
We want to win. I mean, I'm a Republican. I want to win. Okay?
Exactly.
We want the state capitol back in 2018.
Right.
We need the state capitol back. And because I think the fact that sometimes when you're doing your campaigning, if you're campaign manager isn't really knowledgeable about these organizations, about these voters,
Right.
you know, they might not want to spend some dollars in the campaign. Well, with that in mind, in 2013, we did a Latino voter outreach summit.
Okay.
And we had, Rachel Campos Duffy, who was married to Congressman Duffy in Wisconsin, the big Fox News analyst.
Right. I see him.
Yeah, she was my guest.
Oh, good.
And we had some Latino Republicans from Iowa, from Michigan, and Wisconsin. And so we're going to do this again.
Yes.
We're going to do it before either late fall or early spring. And we're going to reach out, and we're all going to find out, how do you reach these Latino voters? How do we talk to them and about their issues? Yeah. And one of the things that's important about Latinos is there's a lot of infrastructure in the cities. By that I mean there's a lot of radio.
Yes.
And TV.
Yes.
And their media is 50% cheaper than the general market. I mean, so you can campaign to this population, and do your media buys and really do some outreach. And I'm hoping we're going to do that. In fact, we're going to be real aggressive on making sure that whoever gets endorsed,
right,
for either any of these statewide offices, we want you to do that outreach to the Latinos. They're voting 30% already, and if you market to them, we want to get them up to 45%. We can do it, and with that, we win.
Exactly.
With the swing vote.
I would suggest to any candidate running or going to run to reach out to you just to talk and just get the information. You're a very smart guy. You got a lot of information, and you're very valuable to any campaign to get the information. And I appreciate you. And another thing I like about you, you were willing to come on here and sit down. You know,
sure.
I do this as a volunteer. I shouldn't have to beg people to come on. I asked you, and you said, "I'll be right down there." Yeah. I appreciate that.
Well, we always like the fact that as Republicans, we have to erase that this whole idea that what they're trying to sell now is white supremacy crap. Let me tell you something.
I'm so sick of this.
I've told people before. I was born and raised in St. Paul.
Yeah.
And I've got some Anglo friends of mine that have been mentors to me. Some of the things that I've accomplished haven't been done by the Latino community. Yeah. I mean, I had the pleasure of being the first chair of the St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce. I think the chamber is 150 years old. Yeah. But that was through the help of some wonderful Bert Mackesy, who was formerly with Senator Durenberger. Bert was a candidate for U.S. Senate. Yeah. He was a mentor of mine. He got me on the board. I mean, I've had some wonderful Anglo friends of mine. And this white supremacy thing drives me nuts. Because you know what? It's all a bunch of crap.
It is. I mean, there are fringe people outside of everybody.
Of course.
But you can't. But this is bad. I mean, I've never seen in my lifetime.
This is the typical Democrats. Divide and conquer.
Exactly.
That's all the Democrats are about. They're all about dividing and conquering. In fact, I've said this before when I've done some presentations. The real racists are the Democrats. They pander to these groups. It's all about the fear mongering. It's all about all these terrible things that the white supremacists are going to do. But in fact, what nobody talks about, Bob, and I'm thinking you'll understand this. Yeah. If you look at the Latino community in this country, they have a buying power, and this isn't some made-up number, $1.5 trillion. Now, if this is a community, it's all down and out, and they're hiding, and they're all undocumented. Think about it, $1.5 trillion. This is the fastest growing market of consumers in the country. So all that doom and gloom is typical of the Democrats. Pandering, and the fear-mongering. But if you go to any city that's run by the Democrats, any major city, you're going to find Latinos and African Americans and Asians are doing terrible in school, and that
is a fact.
For sure. I mean, they're doing terrible. They got terrible disparities. They got health disparities, economic disparities. That's the way the Democrats roll. So, I really think we got an opportunity here, Bob.
I agree 100%. We have a huge opportunity. And Trump actually, for all his faults that people, I love the guy.
Yeah.
But the thing is he's opening up an opportunity for the Republican Party. He came so close.
Yeah.
I mean, Reagan didn't even come that, nobody in Minnesota. So there's been a landscape change.
Amazing,
political,
yeah.
And we can't squander it. We got to move forward and take advantage
Well,
of it.
I think we got some great opportunities, Bob. I love your energy. You know,
Well,
we just met, and
I know.
and we got a great group of candidates this
Oh,
year
I know.
for governor.
And
I'm not sure who the Democrats are going to select.
Tim Walz is, you
I
hear
guess
his
he's
name,
the front runner.
But,
Nobody knows Tim Walz. I mean, he's an unknown commodity.
Well, and Mark Dayton, the thing is, he might be a nice guy, but he's no leader. And
Mark Dayton, yeah.
I mean, it's just we need a change.
Yeah, Mark's
we
good.
really need a change. And I think with the timing is here, we've got to get behind the endorsed
gotta do it.
candidate. We've got good candidates in the mix, and we got to pay attention. And I'm going to, I see these guys a lot. And I'm going to tell them to reach out to you too, because they probably already know.
Well, you know
because-
what? With our organization, our Hispanic Republican Assembly, we have these networking receptions that we hold,
Yeah.
and we're going to try to have every one of the candidates with us, because we have to make sure that our candidates are really thinking about reaching out to these minority populations, but really looking at the Latino, because yes, African Americans. Asians, Somalis, but those groups vote high 90s Democrat.
Right.
Now, if you're going to spend some valuable campaign money, we're talking about, how about that Latino vote? They're voting 30%, and we're not even talking to them.
Exactly.
In the sense that in campaigning.
Well, you not only your passion, but you've lived this life.
Well,
you know these people. You know the habits.
Yeah.
You know the values that they appreciate, and the Republican Party lines up on those values. They can't dispute that.
Yeah. Well, part of my business, Bob, is going to companies and talking to them about reaching out to Hispanics, and I'll tell you why. One of the things that has always been a selling point for me as we talk about reaching out to the Hispanics is this: if you're a knowledgeable, a successful company, most of it is because you always look ahead and you're aware of the marketplace.
Right.
So when I go and talk to companies and organizations, I say, listen, come to our conferences so you can be aware of the marketplace. You don't want to be ignorant. The marketplace has changed. You have to be with that change or not. If you're not, you can look at Montgomery Ward's is gone, JCPenney's. These are stores, Sears. They didn't do a lot of outreach to minorities, and they're struggling.
It's just like in business with technology. You either embrace it
Exactly.
or you go away. We embrace it in our company, and we have never looked back. But this is the same way what you're speaking.
Yeah.
Is your website, did you give Mike your, they could get your website on there?
Yes, it's aguilarproductions.com.
Yep.
And,
people should, contact and get on the mailing list. So these
Exactly.
conferences, because I'd
Exactly.
love to attend these
Yeah,
conferences
we've got
too.
a full schedule all set for next year. And again, one of the things we want to do, just a reminder, we want to do that Latino voter outreach, was going to be a Midwest.
Yes.
Now, why Midwest? Well, we're battleground states
Oh,
now.
yes, we are.
I mean, we've never won Wisconsin. Now we're battleground, so we're going to be
Michigan. Oh,
Michigan,
my God.
Ohio.
Ohio. These all went.
Yeah.
That's why we can't sit back. You got to go forward and move on this opportunity.
Well, this Trump this Trump era, and I think he'll be around 8 years. I really do. It's really fascinating because he wanted to drain the swamp, but look what he's done to the media. He's got them all.
Oh, he's already.
They're all
taken over
shook
that
up.
liberal media.
They don't know where they're going, and they're bumping into each other.
And one thing we
It's
found
fascinating.
is that swamp is deeper and wider
boy.
than anybody even
Oh, yeah.
imagined.
Yeah.
So at least we have a chance with President Trump to make a change that we've never seen.
Yeah.
This is an outsider, and this is interesting. These are times that we haven't
Yeah.
experienced before, and we shouldn't sit back. We should move forward. And I just really appreciate having this opportunity for you to let the viewers see and get to know a little bit more about you. And you're gonna be out there busy, I know, in this 2018 campaign cycle.
I've really been fortunate. I started long ago. My civic career, I was with the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce back in the '80s, and our chairman was a restaurateur, Hector Barreto, out of Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah.
This guy was not very fluent in English, But he had this amazing personality. He had this idea of starting this national Hispanic organization. Well, two good friends of his were Bob Dole, Senator Bob Dole, and Senator Danforth. They were coming to his restaurants. And so Hector had this organization, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and I, as a young Latino, we had started a Hispanic Chamber here. I got to be on his board of directors. And about a year later, we were a young organization to have a dime into our pockets. We were broke, but young organization. And meanwhile, we got a chance because of Bob Dole's friendship with Hector. We were invited to the White House.
Oh, nice.
But we were invited because President Reagan, who was cutting a lot of social services when he became president, he thought, you know, people got to get on their own now. The government can't be taking care of you. Well, he needed a minority organization to kind of support him. Yeah. Well, it turned out to be us. And
thank God.
and I'll never forget, as a young man, we were invited to the White House, and like Hector would say, he'd call me up from Kansas City. He said, "Ricky, we're going to the White House." I mean, he had a real heavy accent. I'm just, you know, I can't duplicate it. I said, "Well, what are we going to do there?" He said, "We're going to go to a budget meeting." And I said, "What budget meeting?" Well, we were a young organization, but listen to this. We were greeted by Elizabeth Dole. Yep. You know, wonderful gal, very charming back in the 80s, imagine. And she was the public liaison director. We were given a budget briefing by Ellen Greenspan.
Oh, wow. You're in with some big hitters.
Yeah, we had lunch with Bush 41, who was the vice president, and a wonderful guy. And then we were in the Oval Office with Ronald Reagan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, as a young Latino out of Minnesota, I was, you know, bought into that whole atmosphere, and that's really when I changed and became Republican. And President Reagan, and this is a quote that's in the history books, he told us that that he had, being governor of California, he had the opportunity to work with Latinos, and he thought, you know, they're patriotic, they're passionate about their country, they want to serve their country, and they're entrepreneurial. And he said, you know what? Latinos are Republicans, they just don't know it yet.
Oh, what a story. Well, I'm glad we were able to capture that in there, because we're just wrapping it up. But I didn't want to stop you, because we're going to keep that in.
That's a real deal.
Rick, I go by Rick now, but it's Richard Aguilar.
Yeah,
but
thank you.
Thank you so much. This was great.
Yeah.
And you're just
good
passionate stuff. And have so much that I could talk with you for a long time. So
well,
thanks
you too,
for
Bob.
coming on.
Thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
I really have enjoyed this.
Do.
So, hey, all you viewers out there tonight, if you want to come on Straight Talk Show, hey, email me, bobtalk22@yahoo.com, and I'd love to have you on. And keep watching, and don't forget to check out Richard's website. So, thanks again, and good night.
Thanks.